Let's talk about what's been going on overseas right now. This is the Group of Seven leaders now arriving over there in UK Cornwall, I'm told, discussing ambitious plans to shift the balance of a lot of things, including car buying away from gasoline to greener vehicles by the end of the decade. Of course, this part of a package of measures to combat climate change. For more, let's bring in Nick Albanese, Bloomberg New Economy Head of Intelligent Mobility, joining us right now to talk a little bit more about this. Nick, what's on the table over there at the G7 on this?
Yeah, absolutely. So it looks like the G7 is considering new policies that would increase passenger EV sales over the next decade, really with the purpose of decarbonizing the road transport sector. Now, if we look at what happened in 2020, we can see that there's some varying degrees of progress in this space. So Europe was in the pole position with over 10% of new car sales already being partly or fully electric. But North America, their EVs were just 2 to 3% of new car sales. In Japan, just about 1% of new car sales. So some significant progress would need to be made through 2030 to jumpstart the EV market.
Nick, it was interesting. We were hearing from companies like Fuel Cell this morning, and they were hopefully optimistic that Biden would change the game for EVs and saying that America is still really lagging Europe and China and some of our counterparts. Is this a group decision, or is this America catching up?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. So the U.S. currently is lagging in terms of EV sales share. If you look ahead to 2030, off the back of the existing policies that have been put in place and the anticipated declines in lithium-ion battery pack prices, at BNEF, we see about 33% of global passenger EV sales being electric in 2030. In Europe, that could be over 50%, but in North America, it'll just be about 30 to 40%. So if the Biden administration wants to increase that to catch up with Europe and to catch up with China, you'll need tighter fuel economy standards. You might need additional EV subsidies, and you might also want to consider EV mandates, which is what we've already seen done, of course, in California, as well as the United Kingdom and some other major economies.
What about the supply there to meet demand at the moment, Nick? We're seeing and hearing of supply chain issues across the board, chips in terms of the manufacturing impact on autos. Is that something that's going to in any way crimp that, or is the supply right there? It's just demand that needs to catch up with the infrastructure investment?
Yeah, it's a great question. And actually, in our view, we see supply catching up with demand. So the Biden administration has a new plan for jump-starting the battery manufacturing supply chain in the United States. Europe has already made significant investments in battery manufacturing as well. So we don't see any significant supply constraints, at least over the medium to long term, for batteries.